From Moscow, we head toward the North Pole to Longyearbyen in Svalbard. The Svalbard Archipelago is part of Norway, located about 500 miles north of Europe. Spitsbergen is the largest island. In Dutch, it means pointed mountains. Everywhere there's evidence of glacial activity. There are some roads, but mostly snow, glaciers, and tundra. Glaciers cover 60% of Svalbard. The rest is 30% barren rock and 10% tundra. Longyearbyen is the administrative center of Svalbard and the northernmost settlement of any kind with more than 1,000 permanent residents. We're on the ground at Svalbard Airport. We're 800 miles from the North Pole, 1,650 from Moscow, and 3,600 miles from Seattle. We're off on a city tour of Longyearbyen and stop on a hill above the airport. It's a beautiful but rugged panorama. This is the Svalbard Global Seed Vault. It's a repository for crop seeds to prevent against loss of diversity due to natural or man-made disasters. Coal mining is what made Longyearbyen. An American, John Longyear, started mining operations here in 1906. One mine is still operating. The tramway carries the coal from the mine to the ships at the dock in Longyearbyen. Mine 2B operated from 1938 to 1969. Barracks that once housed miners are now home to students of the Arctic Studies program at the University Center at Svalbard, the world's northernmost institute of higher education and research. Longyearbyen is a company town. Most housing is supplied by employers, the mining company, the university, or the various tourist companies. Polar bears are a tourist attraction and a problem in Svalbard. People venturing outside of town are required to carry a rifle. When bears get too close to town, they end up stuffed for the tourists to take a close look at, but don't touch. The Arctic climate suits some birds just fine. The eiders are nesting. The barnacle geese also breed here in the short summer season. The Sea Adventurer, our home for the next 4 nights, is waiting for us. And soon we're on board and looking back at Longyearbyen. We weigh anchor and get underway, heading out of Ice Fjord, leaving this outpost of civilization behind. The landscape is harsh but beautiful. We occupy ourselves taking pictures of fulmars flying next to the ship. After dinner, we get the call, whales off the bow. It's a blue whale, fairly rare in these waters. They're the largest animal that ever lived, bigger than the dinosaurs. The average blue whale weighs 200 tons and is 98 feet long. It's 10 p.m., but it's like 10 a.m. in the land of the midnight sun. Time for bed. We wake up in Magdalena Fjord, a small but beautiful study in black and white with blue highlights in the glacial ice. The schooner Norway makes us think we're in a time warp. It was built in 1910 and is outfitted for expedition cruising out of Longyearbyen. The waters of the fjord are perfectly still. The only sign of humans is this hut used by researchers. Heading north, the captain takes us into Schmerenberg Fjord. Here we find a little bird life. Schmerenberg, Dutch for Blubber Town, was a whaling station here in the first part of the 17th century. We hit another bubble in the space-time continuum. It's the Brigantine Antigua, another expedition cruiser out of Longyearbyen. The bridge spots some walrus hauled out on a gravel spit. We board the Zodiacs for a closer look. They seem very relaxed. Not so for the Arctic Terns. We're a little close to their nests, and they're dive bombing us. The kayakers are out too, taking advantage of the great conditions and more bird life. The lead Zodiac driver spots some seals. They seem to be posing for us. And more than a little curious. Time for a history lesson. This flat, rocky shore doesn't look like much now. But in 1897, it was a flurry of activities as the base of S.A. Andre's attempt to fly over the North Pole in a balloon. Today, there's only a few bits of metal left to mark the starting point. The expedition ended in disaster. The balloon went off course and crashed on pack ice. Andre and his 2 crewmen died trekking across the ice. Time to head back to the Sea Adventurer. Just after we get our boots off, the call goes out. Back to the Zodiacs. Polar bear spotted. And there they are, a mother and a single cub. They're relaxed and the cub is a little curious. The Zodiacs parade past them and circle back for another pass. It looks like they're settling in for a nap. But Mom is keeping an eye on us. Just when we think the photo op is over, the sun comes out and Mom stands up. They pose for us for a couple of minutes. Then it's back to napping. And we're back to the ship for a delayed dinner. The morning Zodiac cruise starts out with a polar bear sighting. The plan was to land on Worsley Nesset, but with the polar bear around, that's not going to work. So we explore the shore with the kayakers. There's an abundance of both common eider and king eider. We spot the polar bear again. It's laying on the sea ice, watching us. Then back to the ship for lunch. We're back in the Zodiacs this afternoon in Love Fjord. There's lots of bird life here. There was some really strange light on the Monaco Glacier today. Our Zodiac driver spots a minke whale and a bearded seal, a favorite of polar bears. Then back to the Sea Adventurer. There's some special events planned. To start with, there's the brave souls who are taking the polar plunge. The chef has prepared an Arctic-style barbecue on the aft deck. Polar bear beer is the drink of choice. In the evening, we gather on the bow. There's the gorgeous scenery, and the Walrus is hauled out on the spit. But what we're all here waiting for is crossing 80 degrees North Latitude and a champagne toast, 600 nautical miles from the North Pole. The TCS staff seem happiest of all. We've turned south overnight and are anchored in Treghamna. We're making our first landing today at Alkhornet. The spongy tundra is full of flowers. Alkhornet, or Ackhorn, describes this sheer cliff. It's full of thousands of nesting birds. There are guillemots and kittiwakes collecting nesting materials, and a snow bunting, the only songbird here. Then we spot some reindeer. They're indigenous and have evolved to be the smallest subspecies due to this difficult climate. Reindeer are the only species of deer where both the male and female have antlers. They're just starting to lose their white winter coats. They've evolved short legs to run over the rocks and snow. On a snowfield, above it all, sits the alpha male. Time to head back to the ship. We leave the reindeer to forage in peace. After lunch, we're out on land again at Pulipinten. There's a herd of walrus on the beach. We approach very cautiously, more for their safety than ours. If they're disturbed, they'll head to the water and might injure themselves. But that didn't happen, and we quietly retreat to the zodiacs. We wake up anchored off Longyearbyen, our adventures in Svalbard almost over. We board the zodiacs for the shuttle to the Longyearbyen dock, and then to the airport, where the Black Pearl is waiting for us. And soon we're headed south to Iceland.